What's going on, guys? I just wanted to talk about some of the final balance changes that are gonna be going forward into next season. Um, it seems like the spirit nerfs. Well, first of all, um, they had sent a poll on Twitter or X, I think it was, and it seemed like a pretty even split from I think it was like 52% for spirits to be nerfed on the movement speed, but and then 48% for spirits to just have a reduced HP, so that way they don't make it to the tower. Um, and it seems like all of the spirits got their hit points reduced. So I think that's I think that's interesting that they decided to go that way. Um, because now they are also one shot by archers, archer queen, bomber, musketeer, and Tesla, which overall just makes them like significantly worse. So I don't know. I feel like that almost like I mean I guess we'll see what happens, but I feel like that kind of just like it almost nerfs them into the ground where like people might not use them anymore and use like something like skeletons in every deck instead of a spirit. Now most decks, if they have a spirit, they might also, well, probably like 35% of the decks, if they have a spirit, they might have skeletons too. But some people might end up opting for skeletons over spirits now. And I think skeletons are like huge value as well for only one elixir. Um, so depending on how this nerf gets, shaken up into the arena, the spirits, they could I think Clash Royale's more open to doing changes, so they could change the spirits to having they could just go the other way, where they reduce the slowdown, take their hit points back to what they were. Um, just because I think the main problem was, in my opinion, the main problem was just it being able to reach the tower, and if slowing them down effectively does that, I think that makes sense, because the hit point reduction is a more severe nerf than the slowdown. So if they're like really bad and people aren't using them at all, they probably will change it to the slowdown and see how that happens. Or they might just like nerf the skeletons as well. But how do you even nerf the skeletons? Just only provide two skeletons? That doesn't really make sense. But I guess we'll see how that shakes up. It is it is so huge that they do not connect to the tower anymore because the only way to effectively counter that was if you had another one elixir troop. So, another spirit or another skeleton. Like you literally couldn't get a positive elixir trade out of that. And that's why it was so like broken because bridge spam. Like this could effectively kill bridge spam. I don't think it will, but let's see here. Uh Love pancakes, spells and win conditions, staple. It's usually clear. So it says spells and win conditions have been a staple of solid Clash Royale decks. When players start to cut them from their deck, it's usually a clear sign that something is off with the meta. Right now, support troops and spells in many decks have been replaced by spirits. That is very true because it's also extremely like quick cycling for only one elixir, which again with this nerf is why skeletons will probably get used a lot. Leaving these decks with one or sometimes even zero spells, having multiple spirits in your deck is advantageous because they not only allow you to cycle to your heroes and evolutions faster, they are also incredible value for one elixir. They stun, heal, distract, take out swarms, and chip away at crown towers all while cycling your deck to its most powerful components. In the vast majority of situations, deploying a spirit guarantees a positive elixir trade. This assured value has enabled certain playstyles in which spirits allow for constant pressure throughout the game without any risk, which can be frustrating. That is very true. Like, placing a spirit, literally zero risk. Like, you cannot mess up playing a spirit. I mean, you can, but, like, it's one elixir, so it doesn't really matter. um, so, seems like out of all of the four spirits had a combined usage rate of 53%, which is insane. I think for one card to have like I think over like 30% usage rate is like a lot. And I mean the spirits are kind of all the same card to be honest. Although people use the heal spirit a lot less than the other three. But like having all three of them, you know, combined because they're kind of like one card to be honest, but they're not obviously. So combined as 53%, that is insane. That's like basically saying like I don't know, just Goblinstein down here for an example. Like if that had a 53% usage rate, that's like basically the same thing. Like that's what they're saying, which is absolutely insane. In the top 200, and then 31% in ranked. So yeah, that's that 31% threshold that I was talking about. 31% just like overall, that would be like overall ranked. That's just too high. And like obviously 53% in the top 200, that just means they're better. Like basically if you're not running that in your deck, you're probably not going to be in the top 200. Change their hit points will make their value more situational rather than assured, with every placement removing their tower pressure dimension. Removing their tower pressure dimension. Oh, okay, I understand what they're saying there. There's like, can't hit the tower anymore. Ruins the cycle ability, crowd control, a little more meaningful decision. Over the coming months, we'll be monitoring their usage rates and win rates in both competitive play and Trophy Road, and whether decks continue to cut support troops and spells in exchange for spirits. See, and I kind of mentioned this earlier. I'm really glad that they're like keeping a close eye on the spirits because I think, I mean, it has been a very core component of the game for so long. So, like, this is definitely something you want to watch very closely. Um, and we'll see if they decide to revert the change and do just a slowdown. But all right, let's get into something other than spirits. So we got heroes and champions here. Abilities cooldown. Oh, they're going from cooldown to single use. Wow. So the Electro Giant deck that I was running, right, I have Hero Bowler. So sometimes if I would activate it far enough back, my ability, it would like hit a few, throw the 3 shots. And then sometimes I'd be able to get off another ability at the bridge just because they decided to push my tower. So I'd be able to get like 2 abilities off on one. So now you can only use one ability. We don't believe ability cooldowns add enough meaningful gameplay to justify their complexity. To like, I'm gonna be honest. I think everyone hates going against that Archer Queen like Piggy's deck. Well, maybe it's not that strong anymore, just because it's received like kind of a lot of nerfs. But like Archer Queen, it would typically like maybe like 30% of the time the Archer Queen would be able to get 2 ability usages out of it. Because if they use it defending, and then if it takes long enough time for them to defend, it then gets another ability usage at the tower, and that is like huge value. That is insane value because, I mean, that ability basically makes it to where like you have to place like a 4 elixir card just to, tank the damage, and then maybe kill it if you're lucky. But anyway, as a result, all abilities except for Boss Bandit, whose ability was designed for rapid consecutive activations, will now be single use. Consequently, we are buffing a few of the weaker champions and we continue to monitor the health, monitoring both heroes and champions, adjusting those most affected by this change over the coming months. Right, Boss Bandit, that makes sense. It'll probably be like 2. I imagine it'll have 2 uses. Let's see, our Goblinstein. The Doctor damage is going from 92 to 135. That's an insane damage increase, so, I mean, you'll probably be able to, like, one-shot. Well, no. Probably 2-shot goblins. I feel like this kind of puts him on... I'm not sure, I don't know how much damage the Ice Wizard does, but I feel like this kind of puts him on par with that. You know, Ice Wizard has the stun. Goblinstein, the Doctor, has, you know, the stun. Ice Wizard, sorry, I think I said Ice Wizard and stun. Ice Wizard slowing. And then if they both like 2-shot goblin, well, huh? Ice Wizard doesn't 2-shot goblins, does he? I think it's still a 3-shot. But I think this would kind of put it on par with the Ice Wizard, is probably what they're doing there. And then the ability damage per second, that got a decrease. I think that's fair. I think nerfing the ability and increasing the base damage of the Doctor makes sense. Let's see, Little Prince, hit speed, conservation. Right, that's the change that I talked about before, where like the Little Prince, you know, it's shooting really quick, and then it could move like for 0.3 seconds, like a little stutter step, and then still be shooting super fast. I think that's a really good change, because this card was like completely useless, basically. Is that how it's spelled? Guardian? That's interesting. Guardian damage, also an increase. I think that's good as well. I mean, this card is probably one of the least used cards in the game. Like, I even see Goblinstein over this. Sometimes you'll see this in, like, a Sparky deck or, I don't know, something weird, but this you almost never see. Little Prince will now maintain his charge. Yep, that's the hit speed conservation. Mighty Miner, base damage 40 to 43. So I think this makes him 1-shot skeletons, if I remember correctly. Or no, 2-shot. 2-shot skeletons. So I guess he 3-shot skeletons before. Okay. Bug fix. First hit time 0.3 to 0.4. We're fixing a timing issue that caused Ronan to deal parry damage and melee damage in the same tick against a charging Dark Prince, causing an inconsistent interaction against his shield. Also, his parry will no longer cancel Golden Knight's dash. Yeah. I think that, yeah, you know, bug fixes. Those are fair changes. Let's see what they decided to do with the Expo. Hit speed 0.3 to 0.4. So right, it hits slower now, but an increase in damage, and the projectile speed increases? That's interesting. When Expo is targeting something right at the edge of its range, it will often waste a shot on a troop even after taking it out. We're reallocating its stats in order to fix this interaction. Its overall DPS will increase by 1.4%. Okay, so this is a buff. Very minor buff. I think that's okay. I mean, Expo's nothing crazy. It's still like, I hate going against Expo, to be honest, because it's just boring. But I think I'm fine with this. It's like an okay change. Some reworks. These reworks aim to address cards that fueled unhealthy play patterns in the past, and some of which were subsequently, as some might say, nerfed into the ground. These changes may be reverted if they don't have the desired effect. Cat! This is Luna, guys. She wanted to say hi. So Hero Ice Golem. Looks like the third blast is going from freeze to slow. I think that's fair. The third blast freezing. Again, I said this in the other video. That's really strong. The damage per blast is getting increased though. So let's see here. What do they say? Hero Ice Golem's freeze blast turned out to be too oppressive. Yeah, with Hog Rider, it was kind of broken. Replacing it with a third slowing effect, the combined damage of all the blasts will now take out goblins. That's huge, actually. Being able to take out goblins, because, like, I mean, that still makes it really strong. Like, so even getting rid of the freeze, like, I mean, obviously that's a nerf, but increasing the damage as much as they did, I think this is only a small nerf. So we'll see how that plays out in Hog 2.6 for the most part. The Witch evolution, heal per skeleton is increased a shit ton. Max hit points also increased. That's probably like how much it can go up to being healed. Oh my god. But it only heals from the first wave of skeletons. That's insane. Okay, I'm really glad they reduced that. They changed it to only healing on the first wave, but this might be too much. Like this is a big health increase, so I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Persistent self-healing has proven frustrating to play against. We don't believe recurring healing mechanics have a healthy place in Clash around their current form. That's why we're also trying a full rework for Battle Healer. Oh, okay. Seems like Battle Healer is getting a damage increase. Yeah, because that makes sense. Hit speed decrease, so it hits less. Hit points increase. Heal radius reduced. And no longer heals herself. That's huge. Because I mean, to be honest, like, you know, the classic like Elixir Golem deck. That shit was so annoying to go against because like it's brain dead. Elixir Golem in the back. Electro Dragon. Battle Healer. Some other bullshit. Like maybe another Battle Healer, like Mirrored or some shit. Like it takes no thought process to use, and it's such a huge advantage up front. Like even though they did nerf Elixir Golem a lot, but it's still so upfront advantage having like such a massive tank. Like it's kind of dumb to go against. Not that Elixir because Elixir Golem, if you have matchup, like you're just gonna win. Like you just can't defend it, which is annoying. And then Goblin Curse, enemies slow down 0 to 15%. So it's gonna slow down enemies kind of like a poison. Goblin Curse has learned a thing or two from its partner in crime, Poison. Now troops will be less likely to escape the cursed area before they turn into goblins. Yeah, I think that's fair, because Goblin Curse is kind of like not very good right now. Let's see here. Goblin Machine. Rocket travel speed 250 to 350. So the rocket travels faster. Hit speed. Hit speed is reduced. Melee damage increased. Hit points also increased. So kind of turning into like a little bit more of like a tank, I guess. That feels like a nerf. Which is kind of odd because I feel like the Goblin Machine didn't need a nerf. I wish they talked about it because this seems really random. Like they didn't even talk about the Goblin Machine nerf. I don't know, am I crazy to think this is a nerf? I feel like that's just a nerf. Okay. that like this card doesn't get used at all either. I don't know. Whatever. Rune Giant, hit point increase, enchantment cast time to 0 seconds, so it'd take a while for it to travel to the troop. Doesn't take any time now. No longer enchants kamikaze troops, so that's kind of like the Goblin Demolisher. Probably like um, what's it called? The Wall Breakers. Won't enchant those anymore, which is absolutely fair. Rune Giant's left in the dust. She will now stay in motion while enchanting. I think that's a good change because Rune Giant's kind of like not very good right now, and it needs to have some sort of place in the arena. Void's getting a complete rework. It's going from 3 to 5 elixir. Hit frequency 1 second to 1.2 seconds. Single target damage increased. 2 to 4 target damage increased. 5 plus target damage increased. 1 target crown tower damage increased. Yeah, right. I mean, those all increased. That makes sense. Because the elixir cost went up. I think Void at 3 elixir was hard to like make it compete anymore. Like with vines and like arrows. And I feel like that. Is there any 5 elixir? I don't think there's a 5 elixir spell. So I think I like this change because it kind of competes with the rocket and the lightning. And like I don't know, the way I saw this is like in my war decks personally. You normally want. I guess it kind of also competes with Fireball a little bit too, doesn't it? And with Fireball and Poison, because it's like right in between those two like groups. Like those are like groupings. I kind of like this because in my war decks, I mean I'm in a war based clan. I've got one deck with Fireball, one deck with Lightning, one, and then I don't have a heavy spell in the other two decks because I don't have Poison leveled up, and my decks don't really use Poison all like that. Like I don't really like Poison even though it is strong. But then the Void will be another like that'll be like another heavy spell that you can use. So I think that's a really good. I think this is a really good change because it kind of like there was no 5 elixir spell. I like that a lot, to be honest. I think this could really like revive Void, and then obviously if it's broken, they can reduce just like how much damage it does. But it will be hard to like nerf properly because it's not right. Normally spells you'll have them in the same like elixir category, and then like they're kind of competing against each other, and you want it like equal usage across all of them. But Void won't have anything to compare against directly. Like I said, it does have Rocket and Lightning above it, and then Fireball and Poison below it. But those aren't direct competitors. Like, so it's gonna be hard. Might be hard to like figure out how it's gonna look. Let's see here. Many Clash Royale higher health raged cards can only be taken out by 6 elixirs worth of spells. That is true. Something like Archer Queen probably. Or Musketeer, Wizard. We're looking to rework Void to be the first ever 5 elixir damage spell and an answer to tankier ranged units like Bowler, Executioner, and Hunter. Oh, okay. I wasn't even thinking about that to be honest. But yeah. Huh. Man, it doesn't take out a Bowler, does it? Hold on. Let me pull up the game real quick. I want to see how much health Bowler has. Well, also, Void hits 3 times, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, Bowler has 3,325 HP. So, Void 96 times 3. So it does 2,000 damage. I mean, that takes out like 66% of the bowler's HP. And let's see, Executioner. How much health does Executioner have? Well, Hunter's the first one to show up. Let me see. Okay. Well, I don't have Hunter maxed out or Executioner actually, now that I think about it. So I'm not going to be able to really tell you, but I imagine it'll definitely take out a Hunter. Executioner. It might take out an Executioner too, but I don't think so. I think it'll be close to taking it out, like kind of like a Musketeer Fireball. Yeah, I think this is a really good change. Hero Mega Minion, tower damage reduction, 50 to 75%. Tower damage reduction duration to permanent. Warp damage is increased. Yeah, I think that's totally fair because Mega Minion would get a lot of value. You know, if you had a tank in front, and then you had a Mega Minion like dash to like a Firecracker or something that was close to the tower, takes out the Firecracker, and then starts just smacking away on the tower, and there's not really anything you can do about it because he just lost your ranged unit. I think the point of this card is to like dash and do a lot of damage. It's not meant to be like it was it was almost a win condition. You know what I mean? In a sense. And I think they're like kind of removing that. Now, obviously it'll still do some damage to the tower, so it'll kind of be like minor chip, but I think this is also a really good change because it should do more warp damage. Ability focus on taking out troops as opposed to crumbling crown towers. Yep, that's fair. Mortar, Barbarians, Goblins. The base form of these cards is heavily overshadowed by their evolution and hero form, so we are reallocating some power into these good old classic base cards. So the Mortar and Mortar evolution. Mortar hit speed 5 seconds to 4.7 seconds. And then, wow, I mean, that's pretty good. Like 0.3 seconds is pretty meaningful. Evolved Mortar hit speed 4 seconds to 4.7. Oh shit. You know, I didn't even know that Evolved Mortar had a faster hit speed. I feel like Evolved Mortar having a faster hit speed is completely stupid. Yeah, that should not be the case. I'm very glad that these are getting changed to the same time. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's such a stupid like thing that they had. I don't even know why that was a thing in the first place. The hit speed should not have changed. Because like the goblin makes it really strong because it slows down stuff. Barbarians and Evo Barbarians. Barbarians hit points increase. Barbarian hit point bonus for the evolved. There is no hit point bonus. Yeah, having the hit point bonus for evolved barbarians didn't make sense to me. Evolved barbarian rage duration 3 to 5 seconds. Yeah, okay, this makes sense. Like they should have a long rage duration, but like they shouldn't get more HP increase. That doesn't make sense. Okay, I like this change too. Goblins and Hero Goblins, Banner Brigade Goblin count 3 to 2. Much needed change. Banner Brigade deploy time 1.3 to 1 second. I think that's also fair because if you're reducing the number of them, like just react, you know, you should be ready for that. The banner's there. And then goblin damage increased. Yeah, I think that's fair. We haven't forgot about you. Hut lovers, Barbarian Hut didn't make the cut this time around, but it's high on our list. Yeah, I can't wait for them to do some sort of hut redesign. I hope they don't do a rework like the Furnace. I hate the Furnace. Although the Furnace shouldn't... The Spirits shouldn't make it to the tower anymore, which is huge. It is huge. Alright, let's get into the nerfs. These evolutions have been dominant for over a year and are disproportionately strong compared to their base forms. We're also buffing some evolutions with the goal of switching up the evolution meta. Okay. Archer Evolution Power Shot damage 160 to 140. I think that's fair. Archer Evolution was really strong. Roll range 4.5 to 4, also fair change. Giant, like, Evo Snowball's huge. Like very strong. Goblin Barrel, decoy goblin damage, reduced. Yeah. The decoy damage should not do like that much damage. Because like, you could like use it. Main goblins are on this tower that has low health already. You put the decoy goblins over here, but you have like a rascal or something coming down the lane, so it tanks, and then you get like a ton of damage on that lane too. And like you're just like being forced to have like basically two logs, like for one barrel. Yeah, I just don't think that's really fair. So, um, Goblin Cage. He goes from 1 to 2 cycles. I think that's a fair change, but I think Goblin Cage is in a weird place because like I almost feel like he should be at like 1.5 cycles, which is like doesn't really make sense, but I feel like it does because he's often in more like heavy decks, like like recruits, heavy elixir cost, Electro Giant, the deck that I run. So it takes longer to cycle typically, and especially with the spirits nerf, less people are going to use less spirits. So I feel like you use them once, you get the evolution the next, or no, you use them once, use them twice, then you get the evolution, and then you use them once, and then you use them again, and then you get the evolution on that one. So it's kind of like you play them once, or hold on, let me do it this way. Play them once, play them a second time, third time you get it, fourth time, fifth time you get it. So like your gap is 2 here, but then your gap is only 1 here. But then after this one, your gap will be 2 again. I don't think they would ever do that, but I feel like that makes the most sense. Damage per second increased. I think that makes sense if you're increasing the cycles. Capture cooldown. I think that getting reduced also makes sense. Mega Knight Evolution. Uppercut is every other attack, so he's not going to be hitting your troop back constantly, which was annoying. Heavy troop knockback, 2.5 to 4 tiles. Holy shit. He's going to be able to knock back heavy troops 4 tiles? What the hell? I mean, I think overall this is a nerf, but that's a lot of tiles. Valkyrie Evolution, tornado damage, reduced. Yeah, the tornado damage definitely needed reduced. That shit didn't make any sense. Although, they probably only did this because of the Hero Valkyrie, so people would buy the Battle Pass or whatever to get the Hero Valkyrie and then, generate more sales. So this nerf, I think did need to happen, but they probably did it in preparation of the Hero Valkyrie. Bowler, projectile range, 7.5 to 7 tiles. I think that's fair. His his rock did go really far. Executioner also 7 tiles. Yep, I think that's fair too. Bowler and Executioner will no longer unexpectedly clip crown towers from behind the bridge. Right. Like, from behind the bridge didn't really make sense. Goblin Drill. Tower spawn damage removed. Yeah. Goblin Drill will no longer guarantee damage on crown towers, but the spawn goblins will do 4% more damage. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think the drill should do damage on the tower. Wall breakers, damage reduced. I think that's a much needed change. Kite to strike, deal damage to troops and threaten 700 damage to crown towers if left unanswered. Now they'll no longer be so punishing. Yeah. Bridge spam again. They're nerfing bridge spam kind of. Like, because it's no skill. Like, that shouldn't be a deck archetype in the game where you just place stuff at bridge. Because, right, it's meant to be like, you're meant to, like, think about what you're doing. And that's, like, just spamming at the bridge is not what they want in the game. Magic Archer. Its damage is reduced. I mean, okay. Royal Delivery. Damage also reduced. I think that was a much needed change too. Royal Delivery did a shit ton of damage, and then having the shield on the recruit. I mean, like that's Royal Delivery is a really strong card in the right deck. Zappy's hit speed is reduced, or technically increased, but like it's a nerf. And I think this is fair too. Not that Zappies are used that much, actually, but I don't know. This one's confusing. This is like, I feel like this is just a hard card to like get right. Buffs. Hero Tombstone. Damage 320 to 422. Sight range 5.5 to 7. Hit points 4,000 to 4,227. Hero Tombstone was released with experimental intent as a tanky win condition. Locked behind an ability isn't something the game has seen before. If Tomb Queen still doesn't find her way into the meta after this buff, we'll look into reworking her to target troops. Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. Because, like, I think having Tomb Queen as, like, a tanky win condition is very hard to make it work. Because, normally, like, Tombstone, it's a building card. Like, you use that on defense. And so, like, you don't have the 5 elixir to spend while defending. So then the ability just goes away before you can build up a counterattack again. So, I don't know if it'll work out. They might have to, like, make it target troops. Minion Horde Evolution, hit speed, slow down. 50 to 33%. Is that while they're invisible, they have a slowdown in their hit speed? I mean, I guess that makes sense. You don't really see people use the Minion Horde Evolution. Princess Evolution, slow every 3 attacks to every other attack. Yeah, I think every other attack is fair. Slow duration, 7 seconds to 5.5 seconds. Yeah, I think that's also fair. Spear Goblins hit speed is reduced, so they're gonna hit faster. I think that's fair as well. While their last range nerf successfully released some of their Crown Tower pressure, Cerealum is not defensively reliable enough due to their low DPS. Yeah, that is very true. Because, like, it's not... They don't really help out on defense. Like, you might as well just play archers or something else. Bush, goblin hit points increased. Made his behavior more predictable. The bush goblins themselves needed a little love. I mean, I guess that's fair. They didn't full... I mean, if you nerf so many cards in bridge spam, I guess you gotta have something that gets a buff. Furnace spawn speed. So it has more... The spawn speed increases, or is decreased, but you get more per time. So I think that makes sense, because if they don't reach the tower anymore, you can spawn more. Because, like, then the whole point of it will be to do a lot of damage, you know? So, I think that makes sense. That's a good change. But if with this change, they might also... They eventually... The way I think it'll play out is it'll do a lot of damage, and I think they probably would want to reduce how much its, like, like Furnace's physical attack does. They might want to reduce how much damage that does. Non-evolution Furnace will be heavily affected by the Fire Spirit nerf, so we are compensating with a spawn speed increase. Yeah. Cards are scaled at level 11, and most of the time, base form changes also affect a card's evolution in hero forms. Oh shit, this is at level 11? If these are level 11 numbers, the Void might kill a bowler. Which is kind of crazy. Wow. Okay. I like the majority of these balance changes. I think this is very good for the game. Yeah. I like these changes a lot, actually. Who knows? Maybe I'll start using Little Prince in my Electro Giant deck. um, yeah, and I'm really happy with the spirits nerfs. I think everyone is, unless you're a bridge spam player, like a fucking loser. But all right, this was a really long video. Um, sorry about that, but there was a lot to go over here. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Um, I think we have a lot to look forward to in the next season. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.